The Cubs are finally back to 500 thanks to a huge win over the Miami Marlins yesterday, beating them 14-2. Seiya Suzuki, Shota Imanaga, Crow-Armstrong all had huge days. We're going to talk about that and what this means for this team moving forward and more on the Cubs baseball channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in that comment section. Let us know if you think this team has a shot if they've reached 500. Here's your invitation to our show. What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name is Anthony Pasquale, and you can find me on Twitter at ant_Pasquale3. You can also find the Cubs Baseball Channel on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok. So make sure to follow us along on there. Get in our comment sections, follow us, and we'll make sure to engage with you guys, not only on here with YouTube, but also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to keep the Cubs chain rolling on all these different platforms. But guys, got a huge game to discuss from yesterday. The Cubs destroyed the Miami Marlins 14-2, one of their biggest wins of the season. And there's a lot of different intricacies that we're going to talk about from this game, but let's start here. The Cubs are 500. The Cubs are 500, 65-65, back at 500 for the first time since June 5th. And it obviously dipped pretty low for a while there in June and a little bit in July, but the Cubs have been playing better baseball for the better half of a month and a half now. And their lineup is cooking. Their starting pitching has been really good. So kudos to the Cubs. Mick and I have been talking about for weeks how the climb to playoff contention is two climbs. The first one is a climb to 500, and the second one is building off of that. The Cubs have hit 500 finally, and now it's their time to build on it. But let's give some credit where credit's due from yesterday's ball game, and we'll start with Seiya Suzuki and Shota Imanaga, who made history yesterday. So here's the official stat. The Cubs are the first team in MLB history to have one Japanese-born player notch 3 extra base hits, that being Seiya Suzuki. He had 2 home runs and an RBI triple. Plus, an additional Japanese-born pitcher earned the win in the ballgame. That was Shota Imanaga. For people who are going to ask, Shohei Ohtani has never done this on his own. He has never had 3 extra base hits in a same game that he earned the win on the mound. So the Cubs are the first team to have 2 Japanese-born players do those things, and that doesn't even begin to talk about how good those 2 players were yesterday. Seiya Suzuki, 3 for 5 with a walk, had 4 runs driven in, 2 home runs, had an RBI triple, a huge game from him. And then Imanaga delivered 7 innings, allowed just 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks. Another stellar performance from him as he lowers his season ERA to 3.08. A really nice effort from him. But you look top to bottom down this lineup, the Cubs offense was phenomenal. Michael Busch was 3 for 5. Mike Tauchman came in as a pinch hitter, had 2 hits. Crow-Armstrong was 2 for 4, 3 RBI, including a home run himself. Miguel Amaya tallied 3 hits. The Cubs as a team had 8 walks and 17 hits, 25 base runners. So as a result, they beat the Marlins 14-2. But we got to give a lot of credit here to Crow-Armstrong and Miguel Amaya. Both of these guys have been on an absolute tear for the better half of a month now, probably since late to middle July, that you could say these guys have really turned it around. Miguel Amaya obviously had 2 home runs in the game a few days ago. He had 3 hits yesterday. Crow-Armstrong had the inside the Parker to open the series yesterday, an absolute bomb, 437 feet to right field. He drove in 3 runs. Let's talk about it. In the last month from Crow-Armstrong, you've seen him bat .292 in the last 15 games, 9 RBI, 4 homers, and he's still stealing bases. What about Miguel Amaya? Amaya is hitting .233 on the season. Remember when it was .188? He's been on a tear. In his last 30 games, Amaya is hitting .318. If you shorten that sample size to the last 15 games, he's hitting .320. Even less, last 7 games, .360. Plus, there's been some power from Miguel Amaya. One of the biggest reasons that the Cubs were struggling so much is because the bottom of their order were automatic outs for a long time. Right now, the bottom of the order is one of the strengths of this team. Crow-Armstrong in the 8th spot and Miguel Amaya in the 9th spot have really turned this lineup into one that is fearable for pitchers. So congratulations to both of those guys who have been playing a lot better baseball as of late. Would it surprise you to hear that Miguel Amaya's season batting average is higher than Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, and Isaac Paredes? It surprised me when I saw that. So Miguel Amaya made some adjustments. Now he's turning into a really strong hitting catcher. And as Mick pointed out earlier in the week, he's making the decision for the Cubs to move on from him a tough one. I'm sure a lot of people months ago thought he had no chance to be a starting catcher in the MLB. And now you're probably biting those words a little bit. And if he continues to hit like this, I'd have no problem with the Cubs using him as a catcher in the future. But like we talked about, the Cubs are 500. They're 500 for the first time since early June. So that means that the Cubs are now in second place, 10.5 back of the Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central and 5 back in the NL Wild Card. It's going to be still a tough climb, which is why the playoff odds are not spectacular. 3.9% chance to make the playoffs and a 0.5% chance to win that division, being the NL Central. But I want to give a quick shout out to the Cubs' first-round draft pick this season, Cam Smith, who has now homered in 5 straight games, which is a record for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. I think that's high A ball. He's been tearing the cover off the ball. And he's a guy that the Cubs drafted, a college hitter that they hope can rise through their system pretty quickly. One of the fastest ways to do that is to keep hitting bombs, and he's doing just that. 5 straight games with a home run from him. But we talked about this. The Cubs have the easiest schedule in the National League remaining, and it continues today. The Cubs look for the sweep against the Miami Marlins. It's going to be Javier, Assad on the bump for Chicago. 6-3 on the year with a 3.11 ERA up against Adam Oller, who is 0-1 in his only start this season with a 9.64 ERA. Now, the path to the Cubs getting 85 wins is this. The Cubs need to win series against teams they are better than in the standings. They need to sweep one series, and then we can expect the Cubs to lose series against the teams better than them. So that's the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Phillies, who are coming up. But if the Cubs do just that, like I said, they'll finish with 85 wins. If you mix in some sweeps like the Cubs have an opportunity to do today against Miami, get them over 500, then the Cubs could climb to 86, 87 wins if they keep playing this type of baseball. I don't think 85 gets it done to get in the playoffs. I think the Braves have a pretty good bet to get to at least 85 wins, considering they're already pretty strong at 69. They'd only have to win 16 more ball games. But if the Cubs could get up to 87, 88 maybe with a good hot streak, and the Braves play like 500 ball the rest of the way, that's a team that the Cubs could potentially catch for that third wild card spot. But the only way you do it is if you keep winning ball games, which is what the Cubs are going to be trying to do today as they take on the Marlins and look for the sweep in Miami at Lone Depot Park. But guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Always fun to talk about this team, especially when they're winning ball games. And we can hope they do the same thing today and break the brooms out down in South Florida. But for now, thank you guys so much for coming and talking some Cubs baseball on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure to like and subscribe, get in those comment sections, and toss us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. But for now, go Cubs.